One of the biggest blunders I see in people who are considering ending a relationship where there are children involved is when they say, yeah, but I'm going to wait until the kids are 18 because it's better for the kids to have a two-parent home. And I say, really? So you just admitted to me that you're in a relationship that is so fucking toxic that you want a divorce. But somehow you think that's good for your kids to grow up in that home? Yeah, brilliant idea. Second, far more importantly, you're going to wait until the child is 18 or 20 before you tell them, right? Because you think it's... So they're going to be off at college or in another city working where they really don't know anyone or just a bunch of knuckleheads who don't know shit from Shinola. And then you're going to drop the bomb on them that the two people they love and very most in life no longer want to be together. And you think it's somehow good for them to be doing that there, where in their most vulnerable state, where their life is supposed to be taking off. And now you're going to strap a 100-pound rock to their back rather than doing it back here when they're surrounded by people who love them and care about them and can guide them through the process. No, that's probably not your best idea today. Have a kick-ass.
You want to know why you always have to be in control? Because you're terrified of feelings. Terrified of your feelings from your past, you're terrified of your real feelings from the present, and so you forever stay up in your head overthinking things or controlling things outside of you. You can't bear all your feelings. You're terrified of losing control if they were to take over and never being able to get control back. You were taught perhaps as a child that your feelings don't matter, and so as a way to protect yourself, or you got criticized for your feelings, so as a way to protect yourself, you don't ever show any feelings. You stay in control. And is it possible that that sense of control that you think you always need is in fact the greatest thing obstructing your becoming your authentic self and unleashing your greatness and actually healing inside? The mere fact that you're keeping down the very shit you're most afraid of. You're staying forever in control, and it's fucking up your life. Have a kick-ass day.
You want to know what's even worse than being cheated on? For a whole lot of people, the idea of being cheated on is their single biggest nightmare, their single greatest fear. But when you've been cheated on, you discover there's something even fucking worse. You want to know what it is? It's when the other person doesn't fucking admit it. You may even have a mountain of evidence, or your gut instinct when you're in your most calm state knows they fucking cheated, but they don't admit it. Do you want to know why that's so fucking painful? I'll tell you in about 2 fucking seconds, but let me tell you first why they fucking won't tell you. A, they don't have the fucking decency to give you the truth, but why? Because they're taking their own protection from your backlash, from you being disappointed, from my protection from me looking like a bad guy. So I'm going to deny it so that I look good and no, I didn't do it, and fuck you, basically. And you want to know why it's so fucking much more painful than just being cheated on alone? Because one, you're causing me to distrust my own voice, even I may have a mountain of evidence. But two, you're telling me, fuck you, you don't matter. You told me yesterday or 2 years ago that you love me, and now you won't give me the fucking truth. You're protecting yourself at my own expense, and so as a result, I think I'm no good and I don't matter. So let me ask you this, whose bullshit are you believing, even when their mouth is yammering, but you know they're full of shit? Or who are you fucking protecting, i.e. mainly yourself? And when are you gonna have the decency and the courage to give the truth so that they can heal? Have a kick-ass day.
The reason I cheated is because I couldn't let go of this person until I had someone new. I hear that so many fucking times from clients who have cheated on someone. I couldn't let go of this person until I found somebody new. I was just keeping this person in my back pocket until I found somebody I could move on to. And I flat out tell them, you do realize that that's a clear indicator of your insecurities, right? You're terrified of being alone. You need a sense of security. So you took advantage of one person, hurt them in a profound way, breached the trust of the relationship. A, because you couldn't be alone. B, because you needed someone to be with you and hold your hand while you moved on from them. And C, you couldn't just look them in the fucking face and do the honorable fucking thing. You didn't have the courage. And they, I eventually get them to the point where they have to admit it, because that's what it is, right? This isn't the only cause of cheating, but this is a whopper. You gotta hold on to this one until I find someone fucking new. And what's fascinating is when they get caught, they'll claim, oh no, we need to make the relationship work. Really, make the relationship work. And oh, I love you so much. Really? So the very relationship you would just breach the trust of and you were trying to get out of, and this person you were so willing to say, fuck you, I don't care about your feelings to, you now want. And that's an even greater indicator of how terrified they are of being alone and not having the sense of security and you holding their hand that you provide to them. And very often, one of the single biggest questions I get from people is, Sven, my partner cheated on me, should I take him back? And my response is always, no fucking way. I mean, do what you want, but you'd have to be fucking nuts to do it, or at least nuts to do it soon. You wanna know why? Because until there is a visible change in their behavior, until there is visible cause to trust them, you don't have anything except their fucking promises. And the truth is that insecurity, that fear of being alone, that longing for security requires going back into childhood shit, because that's always where it comes from. And you got to go into it and identify it first, and then you have to exhibit new behaviors growing out of that new belief system. And that's going to take a year, 2 years, and you're going to be distrusting them anyway, so you might as well keep them at arm's length, force them to be alone and face their shit and watch how they respond. But you don't want to do it, do you? You don't want to do it, because very often The fears that afflict the cheater are the same ones afflicting the cheatee. And I'm not trying to excuse anybody's behavior. I'm just trying to help you identify what's going on inside of you. You're just as terrified of being alone, aren't you? You're just as terrified of not having your sense of security. So you'll allow someone to punch you in the fucking face, basically, take advantage of you, breach your trust. And I'm saying, don't go back into that fucking relationship until you have a visible cause to trust, because they've given you ample visible cause to distrust. So now there has to be a counterweight to that over time, right? But your own, so very often the fear driving the cheatee is the one driving the cheater, that fear of being alone, fear of not having that sense of security. And here's the bottom line: until you can be alone, you can't be responsibly mature to your own self in a relationship or to the other person. You want to know why? Because if you're terrified of being alone, terrified of not having security, you'll either control the other person and use fear to keep them under your thumb so they'll never leave, or you'll give up everything hoping to buy them. Don't ever leave, I'll give you everything, I'll give you everything. So which is it for you? Have a kick-ass day.
That the real reason you don't want to look at the pain from your past and the shit that your parents did or failed to do in your life is because you feel obligated to protect them. Hey, it's my parents, or I don't want to speak ill of my mother. I don't want to admit that I'm full of rage towards my father, or I don't want to admit that maybe even hate. I hate my parent. I don't want to do that. Has it occurred to you that the reason you're doing it is you're still protecting them, that the very people that made you feel so badly that you 30 years later have such strong feelings towards them, negative feelings towards them, and the reason you don't want to touch those feelings is you're protecting them? And has it occurred to you that you're committing the exact same crime that they committed? You are silencing the voice of that 7-year-old or that 12-year-old, and you're doing it to protect their feelings. So you are in fact confirming now at age 30 or 40 or 50 that their feelings are more important than your feelings. You are re-victimizing that 7-year-old child that was you. You okay with that? Have a kick-ass day. So often I get people who have been cheated on by a spouse asking me, Sven, you know, he keeps telling me that he doesn't want to talk about it anymore, or he tells me he told the whole truth. Or if it's a guy, Sven, you know, she swears up and down that that's everything, and I don't know, I just can't fully trust her, and how do I know if I got the real story? And so one of the things I tell people is one of the simplest ways to know whether or not someone has told you the whole truth versus what I call the illusion of transparency, where they've told you 95% of the truth, but there's 5% that's missing, that 5% that keeps them out of trouble. That's where the real fucking gold is. The simple way to know if somebody's telling the real truth is A, you feel it. You can feel when someone has laid it all out there. They're not holding anything back. They're not defending themselves. They're not begging. They're not selling. No, you should this, or it's about you, or they're not giving reasons. They're just totally vulnerable and they lay all their shit out there. That's how you fucking know. And you can feel that shit. But when somebody is withholding, they're still talking. When someone is withholding information, they're still talking. They're still selling. They're still trying to convince you. And a month, 2 months, 6 months after the fact, they don't want to talk about it anymore. They don't want to talk about it anymore. But somebody who's laid it all out there and truly wants the relationship to work understands that they have violated you, understands that they have violated your trust, and will talk about it as many times as you need to talk about it. But you can feel when someone has told you the whole truth. But the problem is if somebody hasn't told the whole truth, they'll keep yammering, and you're listening to their mouth and you're not trusting your own feel. If you trust your own feel, you'll realize, you'll know when someone has laid it all out there and become totally vulnerable versus when someone is sharing most of it, but not quite all of it. So where are you at in all of this? Have a kick-ass day.
Then there's the problem of parental guilt. Do you feel guilt over how you've raised your kid, over mistakes you've made, things you've done that embarrass you or make you feel bad because you know you hurt your kid? Problem is this with parental guilt. If you don't feel it, you're not reflecting on your own behavior. You've heard me say it before. Guilt is one of the marks of good parenting. Why? Because it shows you're thinking about what you've done and what you haven't done, and you're feeling it and you're considering the impact on the child. However, the flip side of that is parents who feel so much guilt that they refuse to be firm with their child. They refuse to be tough. They refuse to make the hard fucking decisions. And being a parent means making the hard decisions, but being a parent means having the courage to look at your own shit and recognize what you've done wrong, rather than just protecting your ego at the expense of the child and never considering that you've made some serious mistakes. We're all fallible. Have a kick-ass day.